Okay, stop everything you're doing right now. I need to have a serious conversation with you because I've been watching what these so-called dating coaches and relationship experts are feeding you guys, and I'm genuinely angry. Not just annoyed, I'm furious. Because some of this advice isn't just ineffective, it's actively destroying your chances with women. And the worst part? It all sounds so reasonable, so progressive, so correct, that you don't even realize you're being set up for failure. Stay with me for the next 20 minutes, because I'm about to completely flip everything you thought you knew about attraction on its head. Hey, what's up? I'm Marie, and I've been your wing girl for over 21 years. That's more than 2 decades of watching what actually works versus what sounds good in theory. I've coached thousands of men, I've talked to countless women, and I've seen the same patterns repeat over and over again. Here's what makes me different from these other experts. I don't care about being politically correct. I don't care about sounding evolved or woke or whatever the trend is this week. I care about one thing: getting you results with the women you actually want to date. Today, we're exposing the 10 most destructive lies that dating experts tell men. These aren't just minor mistakes or slight exaggerations. These are fundamental misunderstandings about how attraction works that are keeping you single, frustrated, and confused. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why you've been struggling, and more importantly, what to do about it. So buckle up, because some of this is going to challenge everything you believe. Let's get into it. Oh my God, where do I even begin with this toxic piece of advice? This is probably the most damaging lie on this entire list, and it's the one that gets repeated the most. Parents tell their sons this. Friends say it. Movies preach it. Just be yourself. The right girl will appreciate you for who you are. Sounds sweet, right? Sounds comforting. But here's the brutal truth. If being yourself isn't currently attracting the women you want, then being more of yourself is not going to solve the problem. That's like saying, just keep doing what you're doing and expect different results. That's literally the definition of insanity. Let me break down why this advice is so destructive. First, it assumes that you're already the best version of yourself. It assumes that you don't need to grow, improve, or develop new skills. It's essentially permission to stay stuck exactly where you are. Second, it completely misunderstands how attraction works. Women are not attracted to passive men who sit around waiting to be discovered like some hidden gem. They're attracted to men who take initiative, who lead, who bring confidence and energy to every interaction. Here's what actually happens when you just be yourself without working on yourself. You approach women the same way you always have. You get the same lukewarm results. You tell yourself, well, she just wasn't the right one. And you repeat this cycle forever. I had a client, let's call him Jason, who spent 3 years following this advice. He was a nice guy, genuinely kind, had a stable job, but he was shy, passive, and frankly, kind of boring. His friends kept telling him, just be yourself, bro. The right girl will come along. Job Sani, Chai. You know what happened in those 3 years? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. He went on maybe 5 dates total, all of which led nowhere. Then he started working with me. We didn't change who he was fundamentally, but we upgraded everything about how he showed up. His fitness, his style, his conversation skills, his confidence, his ability to create sexual tension. Within 6 months, he was dating multiple women and eventually found someone amazing. The point is this: being yourself is only good advice if yourself is already attractive, charismatic, socially skilled, and confident. If you're not there yet, the real advice should be become the absolute best version of yourself, then be that guy unapologetically. And listen, if you're already seeing how these lies have been holding you back, do yourself a favor right now and smash that subscribe button. I drop videos like this every single week, giving you the raw, unfiltered truth about attraction that nobody else has the guts to say. You don't want to miss this information. Hit subscribe now. All right, this lie right here has probably created more frustrated, confused men than any other piece of dating advice in history. So let me be absolutely crystal clear about something that's going to sound controversial, but is 100% true. Being nice does not create attraction. It never has, and it never will. Now, before the comments section explodes, let me explain exactly what I mean. Women absolutely want to be treated well. They want respect, kindness, consideration, all of that. But And this is a massive but. They want these things from a man they're already attracted to. Being nice is not an attraction strategy. It's what you do after you've created attraction. The sequence matters enormously. Here's what actually happens in the real world. The nice guy meets a woman he likes. He immediately starts treating her like royalty. He buys her gifts. He's constantly available. He agrees with everything she says. He goes out of his way to make her happy. He never challenges her, never teases her, never creates any sexual tension because he's afraid of being disrespectful. And you know what happens? She friendzones him faster than you can say, "But I was so nice to her." Then she goes and dates the guy who challenged her, teased her playfully, created excitement, and didn't put her on a pedestal. And the nice guy sits there completely confused, thinking, "I did everything right. I treated her like a queen. Why does she want him instead of me?" Because attraction doesn't work that way. Women are not logical calculators that add up nice gestures and then distribute affection proportionally. Attraction is emotional, chemical, primal. Let me give you a real example. I was out with one of my clients. Let's call him Marcus. We were at a bar, and there was this beautiful woman sitting nearby. Marcus wanted to buy her a drink to be nice and show interest. I stopped him immediately. Instead, I had him approach her with confidence, tease her about something she was wearing in a playful way, create some fun banter, make her laugh, and only then offer to continue the conversation over drinks. The difference? In the first scenario, he's the nice guy trying to buy her attention. In the second, he's the attractive guy who she's already enjoying talking to. Same action, buying a drink, completely different context and results. Here's the framework you need to understand. Attraction first, nice treatment second. Create the spark, then fan the flames with respect and kindness. Not the other way around. Respect women? Absolutely. Be kind? Of course. Have integrity? Non-negotiable. But don't confuse any of these things with attraction-building strategies. They're maintenance behaviors for a relationship that's already working, not tools to create attraction in the first place. This one absolutely kills me because it sounds so mature and evolved, right? It sounds like the kind of advice a really enlightened, emotionally intelligent person would give. And that's exactly why it's so dangerous, because it sounds correct. But here's the reality. This advice completely reverses the actual order of attraction. Let me explain how attraction actually develops between men and women. Physical attraction and sexual chemistry need to be established. First, that's what creates the initial spark. That's what makes her interested in exploring anything deeper with you. If you spend your first few dates having deep emotional conversations about your feelings, your childhood trauma, your therapy sessions, and your vulnerabilities without any flirtation, playfulness, or sexual tension, congratulations, you've just speed-run your way into the friend zone. Think about it from a woman's perspective. She meets a guy. On the first date, instead of creating fun, excitement, maybe a little mystery, maybe some flirting and sexual tension, he wants to talk about his relationship with his mother, his fear of abandonment, and his journey with meditation. She's sitting there thinking, okay, this is nice, but where's the excitement? Where's the attraction? This feels like a therapy session, not a date. Meanwhile, the guy thinks he's doing everything right because some expert told him that emotional vulnerability creates connection. And it does. But not romantic sexual connection. It creates friendship connection. Here's what you need to understand. Women need to feel that electricity first. That, "I wonder what it would be like to kiss him" feeling. That physical pull. That excitement when they see your name pop up on their phone. That's what opens the door to deeper emotional connection later. I worked with a client, brilliant guy, emotionally aware, had done years of therapy, and he was completely confused about why women loved talking to him, but never wanted to date him. We analyzed his approach, and it became immediately clear. He was leading with depth and vulnerability, treating first dates like therapy sessions. We restructured his entire dating approach. First dates became about fun, flirtation, playfulness, creating attraction. He saved the deep conversations for dates 3, 4, 5, after attraction was already established. His results? Night and day difference. Within 2 months, he was in a relationship with an amazing woman. And here's the beautiful part. They now have those deep emotional conversations he values so much. But it only happened because he created attraction first. The formula is simple. Create attraction and sexual tension first. Build emotional connection second. Not the other way around. Quick pause here because I want to tell you about something that can genuinely transform your confidence with women. When you know you can perform at your absolute peak physically, it changes everything about how you show up mentally and emotionally. That's where joy mode comes in. It's a natural sexual performance booster made with clinically supported ingredients like L-citrulline, arginine, yohimbine, and vitamin C. One of my clients told me that just knowing he had this in his corner gave him the confidence to approach women he previously would have been too nervous to talk to. Head to tryjoymode.com/Marie or use code Marie at checkout for 20% off your first order. Trust me on this. Confidence in the bedroom creates confidence everywhere else in your life. All right, let's get back to exposing these lies. This game-playing nonsense needs to die. Seriously, it's 2025, and we're still talking about arbitrary rules about response times? Come on. Here's the truth. Women are not sitting around with stopwatches timing your text responses. They're not calculating whether you waited the correct amount of time. You know what actually seems desperate? Following arbitrary rules you read on the internet instead of just being confident and direct. This advice comes from a fundamentally scarcity-based mindset. The idea is that if you respond too quickly, she'll think you have nothing better to do, that you're desperate, that you're too available. And in some cases, that might be true. But not because you responded quickly. It's because you are desperate and have nothing going on in your life. The real issue isn't response time. The real issue is whether or not you actually have a full, interesting life. If you do, sometimes you'll respond quickly because you saw her text and you're genuinely interested. Sometimes you'll respond slower because you're actually busy with something important. Authentic confidence beats manufactured scarcity every single time. Let me give you the framework for texting that actually works. If you want to text her, text her. If you had a great time and want to see her again, tell her. But make sure you're saying it from a place of confidence, not neediness. The difference is this. Needy. Hey, had such an amazing time tonight. You're incredible. When can I see you again? I'm free literally whenever you are. Confident. That was fun. Let's do it again. I'm grabbing drinks at place Thursday at 8. You should come. See the difference? The first one is trying too hard, seeking validation, being overly available. The second is direct. Assumes she had a good time too, and makes a plan like a man who has options. Here's what I tell my clients. The real key to not seeming desperate over text is actually having a life that's full enough that you're not always immediately available. Not because you're playing games, but because you genuinely have things going on. When you're working on your career, hitting the gym, spending time with friends, pursuing hobbies, building something meaningful, you're naturally not going to be staring at your phone waiting for her response. And that authentic unavailability is way more attractive than fake unavailability based on arbitrary waiting periods. Oh man, this one makes my blood boil. Let me tell you why this advice is not just wrong, but actually insulting to women. Women spend hours on their appearance. Hair, makeup, skincare routines, choosing outfits, working out at the gym, watching what they eat. They invest enormous amounts of time, money, and energy into looking good. And they do this partly, yes, partly, because they want to be found physically attractive by men they're interested in. So when some expert tells you to ignore her physical appearance and only compliment her personality, what message does that send? It sends the message that you either don't find her attractive or you're too scared to acknowledge your sexual interest in her. Neither one of those is attractive. Now, I'm not saying you should only compliment her looks. That's the opposite problem. But this idea that you should avoid commenting on her appearance is absolutely ridiculous. You're a man. You're attracted to beautiful women. That's not something to apologize for or hide. It's natural, it's biological, it's honest. The key is how you do it. There's a massive difference between desperate, creepy, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful I can't even think straight. I've never seen anyone as gorgeous as you. Your body is incredible. Confident, attractive. You look stunning tonight." Said with strong eye contact and a slight smile, then moving on with the conversation. Or even better, "That dress is dangerous." Playful, implies she looks good, shows you notice, but you're not falling all over yourself. Women want to be appreciated as complete human beings. personality, intelligence, sense of humor, ambition, all of it. But they also want to be desired physically by a man they're attracted to. Pretending you don't notice her beauty doesn't make you respectful. It makes you disingenuous. Here's the framework. Acknowledge her beauty confidently and directly, but don't make it the only thing you focus on. Show her you see the complete package, looks, and substance. I had a client who was so afraid of objectifying women that he would go on entire dates without saying anything about how attractive his date was. He thought he was being respectful. The women thought he wasn't interested. Once we calibrated this, teaching him to confidently acknowledge her attractiveness while also engaging with her mind and personality, his results improved dramatically. Women felt seen, desired, and appreciated on multiple levels. If you're starting to realize that these lies have been sabotaging your dating life, hit that like button right now. And drop a comment telling me which of these lies you've believed for too long. Seriously, I read every single comment and I want to hear your story. Drop it below. This is hands down the most damaging lie on this entire list, and I am genuinely angry that this message has been pushed so hard that an entire generation of men now thinks that approaching women in real life is harassment. Let me be absolutely clear. Women love being approached by confident, socially calibrated men. Love it. It's exciting, it's flattering, it's romantic. The key phrase there is confident and socially calibrated. There's a massive difference between a good approach and being creepy, and the difference has nothing to do with whether you approach in public. It has everything to do with how you do it. Creepy is following her, ignoring clear signals of disinterest, being sexually aggressive, invading her personal space, approaching her when she's clearly in an unsafe situation or trying to avoid attention. Confident and attractive is approaching her in a normal public setting, reading her body language, being respectful of her response, starting a genuine conversation, creating a fun interaction. But here's what's happened. Some experts and certain online movements have conflated all approaches with harassment. They've convinced men that any approach is unwanted, intrusive, and creepy. And you know what this has done? It's created a dating marketplace where everyone is hiding behind apps, swiping through pictures, having superficial text conversations, and wondering why they can't find meaningful connections. Meanwhile, the few guys who still have the confidence to approach women in real life are absolutely cleaning up. Why? Because they have a massive competitive advantage. On a dating app, you have 3 seconds to make an impression with a photo. You're competing with hundreds of other guys. Women get 4 times more matches than men. You're just another face in an endless scroll. In real life, you have your voice, your energy, your confidence, your humor, your presence, your ability to create chemistry in real time. You can make her laugh, create a vibe, show her who you actually are, and you're competing against basically nobody, because most men are too scared to approach. Think about this. While everyone else is crafting the perfect profile and sending carefully worded opening messages that get ignored, you can walk up to any woman and immediately stand out just by having the courage to start a conversation. I cannot tell you how many women have told me they wish more men would approach them in real life. They're tired of dating apps. They're tired of superficial connections. They want to meet someone organically, someone with the confidence to just start a conversation. Let me tell you about a client. We'll call him David. He'd been on dating apps for 2 years. 2 years. He'd go on maybe 1 or 2 dates per month, most of which went nowhere. He was frustrated, burned out, and ready to give up. I convinced him to delete the apps and start approaching women in real life. Coffee shops, bookstores, grocery stores, bars, anywhere he saw someone he was genuinely attracted to. The first week was rough. He was nervous. His approaches were awkward. But we kept working on it, refining his technique, building his confidence. After a month, he was comfortable approaching anywhere. After 2 months, he was getting numbers regularly. After 3 months, he was dating multiple women and having better conversations and connections than he'd had in 2 years on apps. Why? Because he stood out. Because approaching in person is inherently more memorable, more exciting, and more attractive than a dating app message. So please, I'm begging you, do not let this lie keep you trapped behind a screen. Learn how to approach respectfully and confidently. Read body language. Be socially aware. But approach. Body section 7. 17 to 19. Lie number 7. Share your feelings and vulnerabilities early to show emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is attractive. Emotional dumping on early dates? Absolute attraction killer. And this is a distinction that so many dating experts completely miss. There's this narrative that's become popular in dating advice. Women want emotionally available men. They want men who are in touch with their feelings. Therefore, you should share your vulnerabilities early to show you're emotionally intelligent. Sounds logical, right? Completely wrong. Here's what actually happens. Guy meets woman. Things are going well. He's heard that vulnerability is attractive, so on the first or second date, he starts sharing his insecurities, his fears, his struggles with mental health, his complicated family dynamics, his past relationship traumas. He thinks he's being emotionally intelligent and vulnerable. She thinks she's on a therapy session with someone who's emotionally unstable. Let me explain the difference between emotional intelligence and emotional incontinence. Emotional intelligence is being aware of your emotions, managing them effectively, reading others' emotional states, responding appropriately to situations, knowing when and how to share feelings. Emotional incontinence is dumping all your feelings, problems, and insecurities on someone who barely knows you because you think that's what vulnerability means. Women want a man who has emotions, not a man who's controlled by his emotions. They want someone who can be vulnerable at the appropriate time in the appropriate way, not someone who uses them as an unpaid therapist. Here's the framework that actually works. In the early stages of dating, you establish yourself as confident, fun, capable, and stable. You show strength. You create attraction. You demonstrate that you have your life together. Then, once you've built a foundation of attraction and trust, you can gradually introduce more depth and vulnerability. You let her see behind the curtain in measured doses. You share things that are meaningful but appropriate for the level of intimacy you've established. The timing and dosage matter enormously. I worked with a client who was incredibly emotionally aware. He'd done years of therapy, he understood his patterns, he could articulate his feelings clearly, but he couldn't figure out why first dates never turned into second dates. We discovered he was front-loading all this emotional depth onto first meetings. He thought it made him stand out as emotionally evolved. Instead, it made him come across as intense and unstable. We restructured his approach. First dates were light, fun, flirtatious. Second and third dates gradually introduced more substance. By the fourth or fifth date, when attraction was solid and comfort was established, then he could share deeper vulnerabilities. His success rate skyrocketed. Here's the truth. Women want a man who's strong enough to be vulnerable, not vulnerable instead of strong. They want someone who could handle his emotions alone, but chooses to share them with her once she's earned that trust. Be the oak tree that occasionally shows its rings, not the weeping willow from day one. This is cowardice disguised as respect, and it needs to be called out. Let me be very clear about something. Respecting boundaries? Absolutely essential. Non-negotiable. Always. But there's a massive difference between respecting boundaries and being passive out of fear. Women are attracted to masculine leadership. They want you to initiate. They want you to escalate. They want you to create opportunities for intimacy and connection. Obviously, you need to read signals and respect her responses, but waiting for her to kiss you first, waiting for her to suggest going somewhere private, waiting for her to initiate sex, that's not respect. That's you avoiding responsibility and leadership. Here's what actually happens. Guy is on a great date. There's chemistry, she's giving clear signals of interest, the moment is right for a kiss. But he doesn't make a move because he's waiting for her to make the first move to show he respects her boundaries. She interprets this as either A, he's not interested, B, he's not confident enough, or C, he's not masculine enough to take the lead. None of these are attractive. Then she goes home and tells her friends, the date was fine, but there was no spark. He didn't even try to kiss me. Meanwhile, the guy thinks he did everything right by being respectful. Let me explain the difference between being respectful and being passive. Passive, never initiating anything physical, waiting for explicit verbal permission for every escalation, being paralyzed by fear of misreading signals. Respectful leadership, reading her signals, creating opportunities for physical intimacy, escalating when signals are positive, gracefully backing off when signals are negative, moving forward confidently but calibrating to her responses. Women give you signals. Learn to read them. If she's maintaining strong eye contact, leaning in, touching you during conversation, laughing at your jokes, finding excuses to be close to you, these are green lights. She wants you to make a move. Your job as a man is to create these moments, to lead the interaction forward, to be the one who bridges the gap between we're just talking and we're physically intimate. I had a client who went on 7 dates with a woman he really liked. 7. And he never kissed her because he was waiting for the right signal and didn't want to be disrespectful. You know what happened? She stopped returning his calls because she assumed he wasn't attracted to her. When we debriefed, it became clear she'd been giving him green lights for weeks. She'd positioned herself for a kiss multiple times. She'd literally said, "I had such a great time tonight," while standing close to him at her doorstep. He just never pulled the trigger. Here's the framework. Lead boldly, but calibrate carefully. Create moments for physical escalation. If she responds positively, continue. If she pulls back or seems uncomfortable, respect that boundary immediately and gracefully. Being a respectful man doesn't mean being a passive man. It means being confident enough to lead, while being socially aware enough to read her responses. We're getting close to the end here, but before we cover the last 2 lies, make sure you're subscribed because I'm dropping advanced content like this every single week. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss this information.